Hey, let that ride.
How everybody like our intro? That bad boy be bang.
Hey, I was jamming, man. I was jamming.
He said, "Let it run."
Right. What up, everybody? This is Rock, and here we are one more time with another episode of the Frag Illuminati. We here with you today, and we got the fellas with us. We got Bernie, we got Dre, and we got G-Man. Everybody say hello.
I'm laughing. I can't get serious, man. Elroy.
I just noticed that.
Whatever. Now, hold on. Who was he last week? Jimbo somebody, man. Who was
Oh, that was Jimbo James, man. We Elroy McAllister this year.
Oh man.
This week.
Okay, we're gonna go with it. What's up, everybody?
What's good?
What's happening, people? Back again. Once again.
What's going on? In this week's episode, y'all, we're gonna be talking about. This is a different episode. We're gonna be talking about how I rank my fragrances, or how to rank fragrances, and we're gonna use my example, right? Fragrance ranking pretty much is a personal choice, right? So, a lot of people don't have time to rank their fragrances and this, that, and the other. It's something that we play around with amongst the fellas a lot. We always are updating and talking about our top 10, right? But I actually, I just bit my tongue.
Sound like it.
I actually came up with a system that I use to rank my fragrances. Right, and it's become very interesting. It's become a talk of amongst us of how I do it. Not everybody agree with it, but what has been working for me. And I think what today's episode to do is give everybody an idea or give them an example of how to come up with a system that works for them. If ranking your fragrances is important to you. A lot of people, they look at their fragrances as, they didn't invest a lot of money, invest a lot of time in. So they, feel like that they like them all the same, but different, right? I like this one for different. This one is my best one for this occasion, or this one is my best one for that occasion. And a lot of people go into, ranking and rating their fragrance to say, this is this is my best overall, or this is my least favorite overall. So a lot of people, it's because from developing this system and doing it, I can tell you that it's time consuming. So it does require a lot of dedication. And when ranking a fragrance, there's a lot of factors that goes into it. And I'm going to ask the fellas individually, when ranking a fragrance, what factors do you guys look at as far as what, like if you rank the fragrance, what would be your best, what would be the most important factor in that decision? So I'm going to start with Dre. So Dre, what would be your most important factor in ranking your fragrance?
If I was to rank a fragrance, which I typically don't do because I don't have that type of time. I think my first go-to would be how amazing it is to me. Like once I get that first sniff, like most of us are aware of, except for G-Man up there because he refused to cross over to the dark side with us. Wow. The amount of wow factor and pure, I've never smelled this before, but it smells so great.
Yeah.
I was like, it's hard not to just automatically put that at number one for me.
Okay, so give me one characteristic that you're looking for.
Well, first of
Yeah,
all,
it's
what is
just
wow?
wow. It's
What
just
is
wowing
wow?
me.
What is wow?
Wow is this beautiful
Mm-hmm.
template by
Talk.
Darhal Teeb.
Talk.
It is deer musk and
Talk.
something else that I don't know.
Talk.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Man,
Okay, so Leonard,
Yeah.
what
if
what
you
factors do you look for in ranking a
Yeah.
fragrance?
Yeah.
So
don't try to get away from this.
Yeah. Yeah.
This
Because you know
greatness
why
in a bottle.
controversial.
Say, Eric, I heard your question, man, but right now I'm feeling like I'm in church somewhere with Andre preaching and Bernie backing up. Preach, preach.
Yeah. Talk.
Deacon,
Talk.
Deacon,
Talk.
singing praises.
If
Well,
there
to
was
answer your
anything,
question,
and
Rob,
you know we don't recommend them to you.
the Middle Eastern fragrances,
No, go
I
ahead.
mean, they good, man. I just hadn't got there yet, so they're good. I ain't knocking them. I can't knock them. I'm not there yet. But if I would say to answer your question, Rock, I look at the flexibility of a fragrance. Can you wear them year round, or are they just specific to a certain season? So I look at flexibility. How versatile are they? So I think that's the number one priority when I look at ranking my fragrances. Which one can I get the most use out of throughout the different climates and times of the year?
Okay. What about you, Bernie? Same question. So, and I want you
Performance
to give like a different characteristic. So, like Dre said, how amazing it was for him, and I'm sorry, and Leonard said how unique it is or how versatile it is. So, what besides those two, what other factors do you look for in ranking a fragrance?
performance and uniqueness.
Okay, great. All right, so
Mm-hmm.
when I rank my fragrance and I heard everything that you guys all said, right? And so when I rank my fragrances, the first thing that I look for is the scent, right? And that's weighted the highest. So a perfect scent to me, smell wise, if it has a perfect scent, it gets all 6 of those points, right? And so
So Eric, let
so
me ask you a question.
mhm.
Your process, is it a formal process? Is it based up? How do you base it? Is it based on numbers, point system? I mean,
It
do you write it down? I mean, what do you do?
right. It's based on a 10-point system, right?
Mm.
A possible point of two, but they're weighted. Like I'm saying, scent, because scent is the most important part. We all want the fragrance to smell good, right? So, and I think we all can agree that the smell is slightly more important than everything else as far as the slightly more important than everything else as far as the performance and the unique ability, this, that, and the other. It's more important to that, so it deserves more points, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, in order for it to work, where I felt like it all got an accurate score, 6 was the number that I came up with, right? Because you can't weight them all equally, right? Because I have a point for presentation. It's up for 1 point. I have a point for performance. It has a possible 1 point. I have a bullet point for versatility. It's up for 1 point, and uniqueness, right? So they all have it all is relative to what it is. They all can score a possible 1 point. Now, for example, don't nobody laugh at my Creed Aventus because it's empty. It's empty. I need to feel. But Creed Aventus, right? This on its smell is got a perfect score of a 6 on its smell, but its unique ability, because the fact that it was cloned so many times, it lost points. It was not able to get that whole point because of the fact that you have, so how many fragrances did you have that smell exactly like Creed Aventus or tries its best to smell like Creed Aventus, right? And so it lost points on my system based on that, right? And we were talking a little bit earlier. We were talking about Unique Luxury, which is a holy grail scent, another scent that has a perfect score as far as scent, but it's so strong, it's so potent that you only can wear it in certain occasions and this, that, and the other. So it loses points on versatility, right? So and this is where it becomes polarizing, or um where it becomes polarizing, or where it becomes challenging, because some people will be like, well, damn, you rank this fragrance over that fragrance. And it's because of the fact that it's because of the fact that they lose points in certain areas where other fragrances gain points on certain areas. You might have a fragrance that doesn't get a 6, that'll end up with a higher score because of the fact that it has a better presentation. Just like this one right here, Argos. All Argos bottles are beautiful. So they get, they get the full point strictly based on this presentation. And not to say that this doesn't smell good. This smells amazing. So it does have, a high point value. I can't tell you right off the top of my head what this one scored, but it does have a high point value. And well, I'm trying to figure out what it is because there's quite a bit of juice going here.
You ran through that one a little bit.
Right. This is Triumph of Bacchus. So yeah, I like this one. It's time for a refill on this one as well. But
it was something else you had with your system too, is longevity, like how long you had to set in your collection too.
Well, it's performance as well.
Remember you saying like if you got something today, you had to give it a certain period of time within your grading system for it to really pan out where it really gonna sit.
Well, how I do it is that so if I get a fragrance, it's hard to determine where it ranks right off the first wear. Fine, you'll get that. You know how when you wear a fragrance and you pick up on something the first time, but then the next time you pick up on something else, right? So with my rating system is like, okay, fine. When I first wear it, I'm gonna give an initial score, right?
Okay.
So it has 2 other wearings. I wear it 2 other times before I give it a final score. Right?
Okay.
So if I wear something like Aventus right here and I get 6 hours out of it, right? So from that, instead of getting a whole 1 in the performance category, it'll probably get 0.7 or 0.5 or 0.6 or something of that nature, right? All right. But if the next time I wear it, right, it gives me a size 7 or 8 hours, and I say, okay, well, damn, it might get up a percentage point, right? Or if I'm wearing it in for whatever reason, if I'm wearing a fragrance and I wear it in different climates, or I wear it in different environments, right? Or I wear it with with a different attire, and it might hit different just on that particular occasion, right? So it might get a better scent score, right? Or because like if it's a scent that's marketed for the summer, all right. And I say, okay, well, I'm gonna wear it in the wintertime just to see how it holds up. If it holds up to that heat, that's going to increase its versatility score. So after the 3rd wearing of each fragrances, that's its score. It doesn't move from that point, right? So like
So it basically has like a 3-round
exactly.
trial.
Exactly. And then once it reaches that point, once it reaches that third ranking, like Aventus is what it is. It can go, its score can't go up or it can go down. Its ranking can go up and go down, because of other fragrance might rise above it or below it, right? But its score is going to stay the same because I know what a creative Aventus is, and you know its performance is what it is, its scent is what it is, its occasion is what it is. So its score is going to stay what its score is, right? A new fragrance in my collection, which happens to be my scent of the day, Moon Glory, right? It just finished, you know, its third wearing to the point where it has a final score in my ranking system. Because I remember when I first got it, me and Dre had words because I was like, well, it's kind of light. It's light, you know. And then after subsequent wearings, I kind of start picking up more of the honey and start picking up more of the florals. And then I'm like, okay, it's cool. And I wore it today, and I, you know, and I went to the store today. It held up in the cold, this, that, and the other. So it shows its worth, it shows its versatility, and so its score will reflect that, right? The score will reflect that. Now, how I
Now,
came
Eric,
across
who is that made by? Who is that one made by?
this one is made by the hypnotist. I'm sorry, the Harmonist.
Oh, I keep wanting to call it the hypnotist too.
Right?
Yeah,
It's the
but I think
Harmony.
they have a hypnotizing fire, don't they? Under
Yeah,
that brand?
Yeah,
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'll say that one right there.
It's a fire. It's a firehouse. Check them out. They have a lot of heat. A lot of heat. A lot of heat.
But my
And
question
like I
is,
said,
how do you keep up with the number of times you wear it? Like, because I know you're not doing like a 3 day in a row type thing. So
no.
how do you keep up with how what number that certain fragrance is on?
Now, right now, it's mental, but I do have a scoring system, and I'm going to bring that up on the screen, right? And bring that up on the screen. I do have a spreadsheet that shows all of the fragrances, and as you can see how they are ranked, right? You see how each have a scent score, they got a performance score, and this, that, and the other. Now, what I'm going to do is when it's now in my head, I have a thing that says, okay, well, this is what it is. It can't go on and on. But on paper, I need to put like an asterisk on a Pacific scent to say, okay, this is going through its certain thing. I mean, its final wearings to have its final score. And the thing is, the reason why it's simple because it's only the newer fragrances that are coming to my collection that has to go through that, right?
Oh, so you
And
don't have to do the whole collection over.
exactly. And so what you saw here, these are all the scents with their individual scores, right? And here, what you see is the actual ranking of each particular score. And as you can see from there, you see Y's on top, and you see where its final score is, right? And you see everybody else underneath, right? And everybody else underneath. So what happens is that once I get a new fragrance, you know, once I score it, I initially score it, and then put it on the bottom and just resort. And once I resort, it goes right to where it is, and that's the way it's just simple. The hardest part is
Okay.
right. And so the hardest part is when you do the whole thing at once, right? When you do everybody at once. And when I did everybody at once, I was kind of all over the place. And that's why every fragrance got 3 chances. Because the first time I'm smelling them when I did this over a weekend, maybe 2. And I think what it was is that my car was down at the time, so I really had shit else to do. And so, um, right. So I had shit to do. So I was like, okay, well, fuck it. I'm going to go ahead and rank my first. And so we had been talking about it. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. So I went ahead and I did this and did that. And I was smelling fragrances one right after the other. I think I went through a whole thing of test strips, one right after the other. And and so certain fragrances didn't get their just rating from the beginning. So when I first did it, and this was over the summer, right? So so when I first did it, everybody had all the fragrances had three chances to improve to increase or decrease its score based on the next rate, based on the next wearing. So that's where you got, so Bernie, that's where you got, oh, well, that it takes so many wearings to get to a certain point. I'm like, well, I just got it. I got to finish wearing it a couple more times before it gets its final score. Right. And that's what we divide from there.
Let me
So,
ask you a question, Eric.
mhm.
Do you have a set amount of time between the wearing? Say, for example, that you plan on day one, I'm gonna wear it. I'm gonna skip 3 days, wear the second wearing. 3 days later, I'm gonna wear the third wearing. Do you have a certain number of days that you establish? Because fragrance, they can go to a maturation process, and
Mhm.
so if you change up and you go day one and then day four and day six, and then on the next one you go day one, day 10, day 12, it may be a completely unfair. I mean, do you have a process in place to where you're consistent and fair on all of them?
Yeah, I got 150 fragrances. I got to, because of the fact that, like I said, I started this in the summer. There are fragrances because of the fact of the season that they're supposed to be wearing, that I didn't get a chance to wear until actually they cooled. I mean, until the weather cooled down and this, that, and the other. So now, remembered at that point, you would probably recall me and Andre talking about another Argos fragrance, where we both, at first, when we first bought these fragrances, and I think we bought ours around the same time, when we talked about Basio Immortel, we were not a fan of the raspberry note. But after
Right, I
it
remember that.
sat for a while, that fragrance sat for, especially on my side, it sat for a good couple of months. And then once I wore it again and actually wore it, that raspberry note was beautiful. And it reflected in that scoring. Because I remember when I first started, Basio Immortel scored kind of low because of how I felt about that raspberry note. Now, now that I've worn it and I rescored it, I branded it. I reward and I rescored it and I go from there. Now, what I also do is, because of the fact that I do have so many fragrances, if you look at this again, sorry, not that one, this one. And I wish I had the actual one up here. This is just a screenshot of it. But to give you an example, if you see right here, this shows you the day of the weeks. I mean, the days that I wear this particular fragrance, right? And so, and all of them are like that. Like, I'm going to also show you my collection. If you look at my collection, I have it situated where my top fragrances are at the top. My bottom 15 are at the second row, and this is from in 30 from 37, 38 to 45, and then so on and so forth, right? And each shelf has a specific day of the week that I wear a particular fragrance, right? And if a new fragrance comes in, it immediately gets jumped into rotation so it can get an initial rating, right? Once it gets an initial rating, it gets a shelf, right? Once it gets a shelf, when it's that shelf's turn, when it's my turn to pick from that shelf again, it gets the first pick, so I can get that second wearing. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I follow you. Now,
Yeah.
now,
Right.
now, you're saying you
Mm-hmm.
have outlined
Mm-hmm.
when you're gonna wear a specific fragrance, right?
Well, when I can pull from a specific shelf. Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, let me ask you a question. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sporadic at times, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll just make my mind up. Hey, I feel like, and I'm sure the rest of us the same way. Under that system, I probably would not do well. And
Well,
I say that because I'm not as structured. I am structured. You know, I'm a structured guy. But
right.
I might one morning decide I might want to wear, and I'll give you an example. I wore a winter fragrance in the summertime because, and I'll say it's Angel Share, that wears better in the colder season. This summer I wore it because I smelt it and I was like, man, dang, that smells good. I can't wait for it to get cold, so I just wore it in summertime. So I'm sporadic like that. So how often do you do that? Or do you
I'm the
do that?
same way. I'm the same way. For the most part, is when I don't want to think. Because there's sometimes I'll take a week off from the calendar, right? This is what I might want to just wear all Xerjoffs this week. I might just want to wear all roses this week. I might want to just wake up and want to smell like tobacco, right? So this is when I don't want to think. If I don't want to think, I go to the calendar, right? I just pull from the calendar, this, that, and the other, blase split, and go from there. But because it's just me. So I always reserve the right to say, okay, I don't feel like going from the calendar today. I'm gonna wear what I want to wear, right? And then, but because there's really literally no rhyme or reason, there's no structure behind, especially if they're already ranked. It's only when I'm dealing with new fragrances where it really makes a difference, right? So for the most part, the calendar is just a way for me to rotate and be able to say, okay, well, I haven't worn this one in a while, right? Let me wear this one because it falls on this particular day of the week, and let me go ahead and wear it.
So I guess you're saying on that the benefit of doing it that way is
Mm-hmm.
that you're not using up certain ones and others is just sitting still. You're getting full wearings out of all your fragrances.
Exactly.
That's a good
Right.
move.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I was that
We know
Mm-hmm.
that
you're not.
what you call it, because I can't do that at all. I just be
Yeah.
picking
I'm
stuff,
waiting to see. I'm
some
waiting to
stuff
see
I'll forget
Andre's
about.
written breakdown.
Breakdown.
I'm waiting to see your spreadsheet,
Like
Andre.
the first, because I don't have my spreadsheet with me. I'll just tell you straight off the top of the head.
Mhm.
The
I have a
first 2
spreadsheet.
months of me owning a fragrance, I'm going to wear it. After that, I will probably forget about it.
Now, and that it's also drawback to my system because of what Andre said it. Because I bought some fragrances this summer, and because of the system that I had in place, and I actually think this was before the ranking system, because I had like a new frag day, um, and I had fragrances that I had bought that I had purchased and hadn't worn. I mean, up to months because new frag day hadn't came up yet. So, right. So I had fragrances that was sitting there that was actually like almost still in the box because I hadn't worn them because new frag day hadn't come up yet. And this was before the ranking system. But since the ranking system, what I've done is so it can get ranked and get a shelf, it gets worn immediately. And so it gets worn immediately. Now, another thing is that because of the fact that like you said, there's a lot of rescoring and this, that, and the other. There's a lot of reorganizing of my shelf too. So what I would do before I go through like a 2-week cycle, of wearing fragrances, 2-week cycle of wearing fragrances before I reorganize my shelf. Right. I'm not if only one fragrance moved up or moved down, I'm not going to reorganize the whole shelf. Right. But if I go through and wear like some fragrances, like if I wear Aventus is not going up or down. But if I wear this may go up or down. Right. And so if the calendar calls for me to wear 3 or 4 fragrances that are eligible to go up or down, then after a couple of weeks of that, I'm reorganizing the shelf, right? And then a fragrance that was supposed to be wearing on all odd Tuesdays is now possibly on the third Monday shelf. So it gets rotated like that.
What was that? What you just recently bought one that you were enamored by, and it just went automatically to the top on the first whiff. Which one was that one?
That was Tony
He better
Iommi.
not say. He better not say that. You better not
Tony
say that.
Iommi.
No, you better not
Hey
say
man,
that.
Tony
hey
Iommi.
man,
Right. And Tony
Mm-mm.
yeah
Iommi
man.
monkey special. And I'm gonna actually bring up my list to show you how that one got ranked. So Tony Iommi.
Don't say that, Rock.
Rock, hey
What?
man,
Don't say
Rock,
that.
Rock got
Let me
that.
start something now.
Hey,
Don't say
no,
that.
I'm just
What?
saying. I'm
Why?
trying to see
Why I
how.
had to damn near wait 4 months for
I didn't want to say
reparations?
that, man. I didn't want to say
Yeah.
that. I didn't want to say that. But I'm trying to see how true he is to his word, man, on this graph, and because he came in
Little
here when he
dirty,
got that.
man.
Okay, so
Oh,
let me
I'm
show
just,
you.
you know,
That's a great segue.
that
And
Tommy
let me
came
give
in
you
the
the
door and
example.
Rock lost his mind,
Let me
man. He
let me
lost his
let
mind.
me
He didn't even remember he had a rating system.
let me break that down for you.
Got
Let
him
me
over
let,
there stuttering, man. He's stuttering
let
right now.
no let me go ahead and break that down for you. Okay, so
Okay, break it down, brother.
now when I first got Y, right?
Mhm, mhm,
Okay, the bottle was beautiful,
mhm,
so it maxed out on those points.
mhm,
The
mhm,
performance was excellent, it maxed out on those points, right?
I don't believe you,
The
man.
unique ability was excellent, it maxed out on all that, right?
Copy.
Okay, so
Then what happened to the
my
bottle?
the only question with Y was the only question I had with Y was it
Mhm,
mass appealing when I first got it, right? So I didn't initially score it with the perfect score, perfect scent score, right? Now I
mhm,
smelled it, I liked it, and this, that, and the other, but I'm like, it's unique. Is it going to be something that I can wear anywhere, and this, that, and the other? And subsequent wearings answered those
mhm.
questions for me, and that's where it got that, and that's how it ended up actually getting that score, right?
Okay, well, let me ask you a question. Why
Mhm.
did you cry so hard when you broke the ball? If it was just that.
I mean, it was never a situation where I did not like why. I've always loved it, right? And so I always loved it, which is the reason why I wore it. But I mean, wore it that particular night. I've always worn it. So I wore it. I had a nice little, I don't know who's watching.
Oh
Like you
yeah,
say
yeah,
that.
yeah, 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 yeah,
So I went out
yeah.
and hung out and
Keep it clean. Keep it clean.
right. I hung out and yeah, now and I placed the bottle on I was searching, I had it in my bag and I reached for the bottle and I set it on the hood of the car. And then I was looking for something in my bag and it slid off the hood of the car. It was
Disrespect.
when I placed it's like splat, right. When I placed it on the hood of the car, it was in its case, right? So I wasn't concerned about it, but then it slid and it was done. I was like,
That ain't
oh,
the story you told us, man. That ain't the story you told us, man.
what story did I tell
Yeah.
y'all?
No, it wasn't that one.
You told us that you purposely did it.
No, I ain't
Yeah.
purposely did no why. Y'all know better than that. If that was the case, I wouldn't have been in the rush to replace it. But
Man, wow,
You
get it
yeah.
replaced
out,
it
man.
so you said you replaced it so you wouldn't have to hear Bernie's mouth, man.
Oh wow. Y'all know.
Anton was on it too.
All right.
Anton was on it
But
too.
no, I've always loved why. But my only questions about why was versatility. Could I wear it in the summer? And can I wear it in the heat? Can I wear it in the cold? Is it going to be mass appealing? And it answered all those questions for me. Anybody that's come in contact with why has loved it. It fits in with every occasion. I can wear it sporty. I can wear it sporty. I can wear it dressed up. I mean, I can wear it, for the Steel Bernie's tub when I have some evening entertainment.
Indeed.
Right. So you're right. So it checked all those boxes for me. So and initially it did not. And so initially it did not, but subsequent wearings allowed me to do so. Now, and with Tony Iommi, when I sprayed that, I initially knew that, and I with Tony Iommi, it has not been worn outside of the house yet, right? So that score can actually go down or up because it still has subsequent wearings to be able to do so. So, but on initial spray, on initial thing, I could tell that it had the versatility that versatility that I knew it was going to last, because it's Xerjoff. It's going to last all day. The bottle is gorgeous. Um, from the smell, I could tell it's mass appealing, but I haven't worn it to see how much it changed. I haven't seen, if the compliment factor. Not that I care about compliments, because as you can see, it's not part of my ranking system. But those of that nature. So that, and another fragrance that I got that went way up. I mean, that I just got that started out way up is Tobacco Rose. Those two fragrances have a chance to move up or down depending on how subsequent wearings come into play.
Now, you say, Rock, that the compliments aren't really ranked, but realistically, on a fragrance, how likely is a compliment getter? How likely is it that would possibly tilt the scale toward maybe upping it a little bit more than what you would normally up it?
Byredo's Mojave Ghost. Every time I wear it, I get compliments. It sits like number 80 something, like number 85 or 86 in my collection. I mean, it is a compliment magnet. I wore it to a club one time, and the barmaid said she was immediately like, "Ooh, you smell amazing! You smell amazing!" Right? And anytime I wear it, "Oh, you smell great! You smell great!" Right? But in my scoring system, that doesn't mean anything, because in my scoring system, I'm looking at that bottle. That bottle does not stand up to a bottle like Unique Luxury, like this, like that. So it doesn't get the high point for presentation, right?
Well, let me ask you, said it's an 86. If you got no compliments, would it still be an 86?
It will still be an 86, right? So
Regardless.
because I mean, it still would be an 86 because the presentation doesn't measure up. I only can wear that fragrance in the summer unless I layer it, so the versatility doesn't hold up. Versatility
It's
doesn't
definitely
hold
not a winner banger.
Right. Now it does max out on unique ability, because it's nothing that smells like it. It does smell great. So it does get those points for uniqueness. It does get scent scores. But the fact that the presentation is lacking, it mid to moderate performance, and the fact that it lacks versatility, it knocked it way down.
Performance, do you do a comparative estimate when you're doing performance, one fragrance versus the other fragrance that you have, or is there something that you use as a standard to determine the performance of a fragrance? I mean, for example, if you smell a fragrance and you're looking at for sustainability to performance, do you establish that anything above 6 hours, 6 to 8 hours is closer to a 1, or anything 4 and less can be closer to 0.5? I mean, do you have, how do you do that?
It's a work day. I put it like this, like a work day. If I don't have to read, because when I go into my office, and I work with 2 young ladies in my office, and they immediately smell me once I get in the office. And if in the afternoon, if they're still smelling me, or if I'm still smelling me, and if I don't feel like I have to reapply in the in the afternoon, or this, that, and the other, then that fragrance maxes out and get that full point, right? So, but if the fragrance, if I have to reapply, depending on how many times I have to reapply or how many sprays I have to do initially, will determine how much of that point that it gets, right?
Okay, now
so
what type of fragrance are you?
So like this.
Oh, forget you, Rock, man. Go ahead, man.
Hey, Bernie, that's all. That's
The
that's only.
disrespect.
No, Bernie. He's only explored 2 fragrances out of that house, and he didn't get the best 2. So he's gauging it based on those 2, because he doesn't know any different. He hadn't smelled Green Iris Tweed. It's a whole lot of he doesn't know anything about. So we'll just let him go with that, man. We'll just let him go.
Real talk.
So,
But
so,
this is
so
the
what's the
point I'm trying to
likelihood?
make, though. This is the
What's
point
that?
I'm trying to make, though. And I do not wear this fragrance that often, right? You
Really?
see look how much of this fragrance is left.
That's what I'm
Right.
trying to tell y'all about mine. Like
Right.
literally,
And I
it's
do
just
not wear this fragrance that
evaporates.
often. And it's because I have to do the extra sprays, and it may just be me because I'm living in Colorado. I'm not originally from Colorado, so living in Colorado has spawned sinus issues. So it might be that. But I do remember having a friend over here, and I sprayed it once, and the 3rd time she was like, "Hey, how many times you gonna spray this?" Right? So it may just be me. I might just be overspraying this, but because of the fact that I can wear that, and then halfway through the day, at least on me, it's gone. So, and
Well,
So
let me throw this in.
I got one. What is the likelihood something stays in your collection? Let's say, like out of your top 10, what's the likelihood? Like, let's say hypothetically, because it may never happen, that you run out of something in your top 10. What's the likelihood of you replacing that?
Anything that's in my top 30. Yeah, anything that's in my top 30 is refill bottle worthy. At least that's how I feel, right? So, like, Aventus in my collection is like number 50, 51. No, let me take that back. Aventus in my collection is like 39, 38, 39. Right. Right. And so
but you don't like it.
No, I will get another bottle of Aventus. I do like Aventus.
Oh shit. Okay.
Right. I will get another bottle of Aventus.
Oh, okay.
But
didn't see that coming.
Yeah,
let him keep talking, man. Let him keep talking. He's gonna tell the truth about how he broke that bottle intentionally.
Yeah, I will get another bottle of Aventus.
Let him keep talking.
Silver Mountain Water and Millesime Imperial, I probably won't get another bottle of that.
You got 2 already.
Yeah. And
so it has so what
yeah,
but are those in your top 30 though?
Yeah,
no,
Dre, you got
not.
how many? Dre, Bernie, how many bottles y'all? How many of y'all got 2 bottles of something you don't like?
None.
Oh, nah, man.
I just doubled up on the EHAS. None.
See?
And Tiger.
None.
Yeah.
All
See, I didn't told that story about Silver Mountain Water, and everybody keep talking. Okay, so when I bought Silver Mountain Water from a discounter. I originally bought
Here we go. Hang on, fellas. Hang on.
Right.
Here we go.
And so when I smelled it, and I was like, "Is this it? This can't be Silver Mountain Water." Because I smelled it at the store, and I loved it. And I was like, "Okay, fine." So when I bought it at a discounter, and I was like, "This can't be Silver Mountain Water." All right. And so
see that's Dre, that's how you get to that 98% retail buys right there.
Right. And so
that retail.
And right. And so I actually went back to the retailer and bought another bottle because I thought that the bottle that I got was not legit. And come to find out, both bottles were legit. So I ended up selling the other bottle. So Leonard always gives me crap about it, but that's
so
what
now
it is.
that turned you into a retail monster.
We wouldn't know any of this unless you told us.
Yeah. Real talk.
Hey, well, let me ask you a question, Eric. Mm-hmm. Is it fair to judge a creed against what a Xerjoff would do? Because they're made for different purposes.
Right, but I don't do it that way. I do not. Another creed that I will refill would be Sublime Vanilla. I'm gonna get a bigger bottle of that. But to answer your question, I don't. One thing from navigating this fragrance world, and one thing that I've learned is that fragrance, you have to allow a fragrance to do what it does. And I grade them
Right.
on what they're supposed to do, not on what another fragrance is doing. I grade them on what they're supposed to do. So, but only thing that I will judge is or compare them side by side is the presentation, right? So like using that one example of Byredo's Byredo's let's just say Border Free.
Mojave Ghost.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Mojave Ghost, right? Excellent fragrance, this, that, and the other, but the presentation cannot hold a candle to a presentation
It's
like
regular
Unique
bottle.
Luxury, right? This, that, and the
Yeah.
other. So, or even WA for so
I was like, this is
exactly. So
something I don't know what it is.
exactly. So even though it smells great, it smells great, but if the bottle isn't is like if you look again at my top shelf, all those bottles are great. All those bottles are banging. So
Except for that one.
which one?
What?
Which one,
Is
Dre?
that the Messenza?
The
Mm.
who?
Is that the Messenza in the back? Or whatever
Hey,
it's
what's
called?
going on, man?
That's
Behind that,
that's Rosa Nintendo number 5.
yeah, I hate it.
Yeah. You hate the bottle or
It
you hate the
smells.
fragrance?
I hate the whole thing. It all smells bad. I'm gonna get a
Dre, you
bottle
about
sober.
You probably ain't even put your nose to it.
I've never even smelled it.
Dre,
Yeah.
I
Dre,
gotta
That's
get
you,
it.
you
Rosa
know how
Nintendo number 5.
you know how Eric feel about that one, man. He better cut you off. You talking about Dre lost a signal.
Yeah, but
I gotta get it.
yeah. And it's with that particular bottle, it's that gold texture, is the fire on it, and it's that and the other. And I don't think that particular bottle got a I think that's the only reason why that particular fragrance isn't ranked higher than number 15 on the list, because it's number 15, but it probably would have been ranked higher if the bottle looked better. Right. So that's
Yeah,
how
it
that
had a
goes.
better
That's a
presentation.
question I wanted to ask. What's more important to you, the presentation or the juice?
Well, the juice, because if you look at it here, let me bring this back up. What did I do?
Because like in the collector episode, a lot of what drove Dre was because of the presentation and how it looked and how rare it was.
So the juice for me, the juice is always the most
Right.
important factor,
So
but
you see,
okay.
that's why the
presentation
juice
does play a big part.
that's why the
Gotcha.
juice gets the most of the points, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's use a fragrance like Unique a Luxury, for example, right? And I'm going to bring up my scoring system here for it. And you probably, you guys can probably see me on screen, but I'm not on the screen right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at
There
you.
you are. You're there. We see you.
Really
You ain't
wow.
hiding. We
I
see
mean, I'm not
you.
looking at y'all, right?
Well, we can see you.
Right. Okay. So for Unique a Luxury,
Hey, man, that's a
and I
line
wish
Dre
I
would use.
Go
could
Yeah,
ahead,
show
nah,
bro.
I'm
this
not
to
here. You
y'all.
can't see me.
Yeah, I wish I could show this to y'all. I wish I could show this to y'all, but like with Kutay, its scent score is
I
a
can't
5.5, right?
It's,
But
it starts
the
with a C.
presentation got the whole 1 point, the
Let me look it
performance
up.
got the
I
whole
got
1 point, right?
mm-mm.
But the occasion, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
I can hear you. Yeah,
Yeah,
we can hear you. I'm talking.
the occasion only got a half a point, and the unique ability, because it is compared to a lot of other fragrances that folks say it smells like, only got 3/4 of a point. And so it total score only ended up being 8.6.
I got a question, man. I know you said that you deduct because if someone did a clone of it, why should that punish the fragrance
It doesn't punish it, but what it
or
does
lower
is
the
that
score?
because unique, because it's not as unique as it is, it just doesn't get the whole point, right?
I
So
was
if
because
it's
I was
Right.
thinking that
like
earlier too, but then when you think about something like wow, like when it's so
mhm,
hard to
Mm-hmm. Duplicate.
duplicate,
mhm.
then it
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah, because
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 my
when
like
you
thing
look,
is,
Creed, like he said,
it should
Creed has
go
been
ahead.
duplicated so many times, even if it's not purposely,
Yeah,
right,
that it makes sense that it doesn't get that uniqueness like it did.
mhm,
I got you. Okay, the point is deducted in uniqueness. Okay, I was just
yeah,
saying that it
but
shouldn't be their
it
fault,
does get some
but I
points, like
got you.
because when you look at a scent like Aventus is the
Mm-hmm.
king of it all because it's the one that's being cloned. It gets credit for that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so the
Hmm.
people that come after it will probably won't get the same unique score
Got you. All right.
that uh that
How about that? Because
Aventus,
it's
right?
always gonna be
But
compared
Aventus
to a
is
Venus.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Aventus still won't get that whole point, but Aventus won't get that whole point, but neither will Hachivat, right?
But
And
see,
and
that's
then
what I like about your system because it's consistent.
right,
That is real. I like that part. I
right,
like that. That's dope.
right, but
Let me ask this question.
That's
right.
dope.
Okay, Eric, and the system you have in place is real good. How beneficial is that system if somebody wanted to sell one of their products but didn't know which one to sell?
I haven't thought about it in that way
Because
because
I
it's
see
it's
people,
personal to me, so I haven't
yeah.
thought about it in that
Mm-hmm.
way, right?
Because
Mm-hmm.
I would think honestly, if you had that type of system, I
Hmm.
think that if I had that system down packed like that, then I would look at the ones that rated the lowest to liquidate versus someone in the top. It would just be easier for me to determine which ones to get rid of.
And it does. I mean, in that way,
Ah,
it does because of the fact that if you looked at what I've gotten rid of, it's not ones that not necessarily are bad fragrances. It's just the ones
Right.
that I just find it hard to even when it's when it's that day, because if you look at Scandal, because the ones that I've been trying, I mean that I've gotten rid of or of sold, let's say for example Roja Dove Scandal Parfum Cologne, which is a good fragrance, right? But everybody knows I struggle with vetiver, everybody knows I struggle with cedarwood. So with those type of fragrances, because they smell vintage to me, but they're great fragrances. And when it falls on that particular day, we like, oh well, damn, uh, um, oh, it's this day of the week and Scandals on there, and I haven't. And Scandals the only one I ain't worn yet, right? And so worn in a while. So I have to literally force myself to wear that particular fragrance, and then and when you wear it, you find something else about it. You be like, oh, well, actually, this is actually pretty good, right? Or you be like, because I got rid of that Artisan Pure so fast because when I initially bought it, it was the citrus, and I was like, oh, I love that citrus, but then I sprayed it, and it was so vetiver heavy. I was like, I wore it, it was so vetiver heavy. I came home and took a shower, right, and I ended up giving it away, and so all right, and so
So what you're saying, Eric,
mhm.
is in order to not wear scandal, you create a scandal so you don't have to wear scandal. Isn't that what he said?
basically,
No,
I've
I mean,
created a scandal in
it,
my head, and it's no
no,
longer gonna be worn.
in answer to your question, because I didn't want to. It was easy to identify that Scandal was easily expendable because of the fact that it was hard. It was hard for me to wear.
Because I think the reason I asked the question, I saw someone post the other day, or the other week, how do you determine which fragrance to get rid of? And I think that if in your system, if they had a system as formatted as yours, then it would be crystal clear. Unless you're trying to get rid of the top fragrances for money,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily getting rid of them because you don't like them, then it automatically would be the bottom tier would be the ones I would get rid of because those are the ones that didn't rate the highest. So I think that it can be beneficial to have a system in place like that if you're
Right.
gonna, liquidate or get rid of some
Well,
of your frags.
well, with that, it's still kind of difficult too because you got to think about the price of shipping versus the price of what you're selling. So
Well, but I
a
think
lot of times it's gonna be like, is it worth even trying to sell them if you can only get $20-$30 for them? Then you have to pay another $8-9 in
10,
shipping.
right, $8,
well,
yeah, $10 for
but
shipping. So, and that
but now,
and that,
guys, let's be honest, guys. Be honest. Look at your collections. You don't have
No, no,
$30
no, no,
frag.
no,
You
no.
don't have.
No. You got to take us out of it though. You got thinking of the general public. They probably wouldn't.
Okay.
Most would
You're
probably
talking
wouldn't
about.
have the caliber.
Okay.
I
You're
mean,
talking about wide
but
scale.
the thing about it is, and
Yeah.
to both of you guys' point, because I do have fragrances like, Givenchy Pie or Strong with You, the OG, um, uh, Jimmy Choo Man Ice. I do have those that rank. I mean, they don't rank high in my system at all, right? But those are fragrances that I can never sell because of what Dre just said. They just not worth selling because of the fact that
Yeah.
the market that I would get for them, and then the cost to ship it and this, that, and the other makes it not worth it.
Yeah, but look at your connection. Your collection is nothing unless you have Sex Panther. You got Sex Panther. Dre's got it.
I got that.
Right.
I mean, and that is one that everybody needs in their collection, which I don't understand why more don't have it. But I understand. Like everybody's not prepared for such greatness.
The nose is
It's
not
okay.
built for it. Yeah.
Yeah, what I mean, you gotta be a certain type of cat for that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
smell good
I
today,
think
y'all.
what you
I'm
wearing.
telling you, I done showed it a couple times, but it's the Harmonist Moon Glory.
Okay.
Moon
I
Glory,
think
and I
you finally
layered
came
it.
in right.
I didn't bring it out here, but I got a decant of 400 by Xerjoff, and that's not one of the most popular Xerjoff, but it has a honey note in it. It has a honey note in it, and it has a floral note in it, which is the primary elements in this fragrance, which made it feel like it was a great layer. And when I tell you I smell good, I sprayed this on about uh let's say about 2 o'clock my time. And it's about 9 o'clock, and it's still going strong. It's still going strong. So and if you're interested in the Harmonist Moon Glory, or just this house in general, they're available at Neiman Marcus. Here we go with the retail shit again, but they're available at Neiman Marcus, right? And they're not cheap, so you can. I'm pretty sure you can find a discounter where you can probably get a sample. But if you do like florals and you like honey, it's a damn good
I
fragrance.
was like, that is
Right.
definitely another house that's not on discount sites yet.
Right.
No.
Yep. And you notice how I'm not afraid to share like Leonard is, so I don't
See how he looked. Y'all see how he looked at me when he said that? Right, right into the
Don't
camera, right at me.
but
nobody at your house.
if you guys do like this content, please don't forget to follow and subscribe to our channel. Right. And don't forget to share us out and tell folks where you can find us. We are here every Sunday at 7 p.m. We are recording our shows now, but when we do have special guests or special shows, we will go live and we will include you guys in on our lives going forward. Next week's show is going to be hosted by other than the Mac man himself,
B-Man.
Bernie, be easy. Can you tell us
What's
what you're
good?
talking about?
Since we was talking about the grading system, we're probably going to transfer into somewhat of reviews. We're going to let you in on our top 10 fragrances in our collection. So I know this is going to be a real good show because with the collections that we have, there's going to be some nice pieces being shown next week. Yeah, Dre,
God
you got a
dang
little
it.
homework, baby. Yeah, you got a little homework.
So
Put
do
him to
y'all
work,
rank
man.
my fragrances? Do y'all have a top 10?
Heck no.
Mine very well. I do by house.
Mm,
I go by house.
I do.
But top
So,
10 overall? No, I
so
don't have
by
a top
next
10
week,
overall.
by
You
next
say
week,
Will?
you know, Eric gave us the system. So we just, we break bread next week.
Okay, I'm gonna tell
Let you
you.
know
Well,
what's
I
going on
might
with the
be able to
I
come
fragrance
up
mean,
with
Illuminati.
something.
I'm gonna tell you, with 100 more fragrances, it's gonna take all day. You gotta have nothing to do for a couple of days. Knock yourself, turn your phones off.
No
I
doubt,
might be
man.
able to
No
come up
doubt.
with a little something. I know the general
Right,
area of where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Before we close out, Eric, let me say this. For the listening the audience, if you have questions for us, put them in the comment section. We'll go back through and we'll try to answer them to the best of our ability. So we want to see what it is you have questions about, provide your information to the best of our ability. So leave us a comment, good or bad, question you may have, put in the comment section. We'll get the answers to you and we'll check them out. So Eric?
we the Illuminati, y'all.
Take
Like
care,
and
brother.
subscribe.
No
Peace.
You
doubt.
better
Bernie,
follow us on Instagram too.
Mm-hmm.
what's the
At Frag
Instagram?
Illuminati.
Yeah,
Dre?
follow us on Instagram or else Frag Illuminati.
At
And
Frag
we out.
Illuminati on IG.
We gone.
We out
All
here,
right.
y'all.
Holla.
Cut.
Now it's time.